Business ownership has never been hotter, but how do you do it? That's where I come in. Allow me to guide you on your journey. Welcome to Ion Franchise. This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. Up next.
What a brilliant idea. I love that.
It's funny you say that. It's whoever's the most miserable in their current position.
So we're going to make learning fun again for sure. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. And I'm your host, Lance Graulich. You know, education, preschool, we need a lot of help in America. And you know who I have to help us today? Richie Huffman is the founder of Celebree School, talking about high quality preschool and more. Welcome to the show, Richie.
Thank you, Lance. Thanks for having me on.
It is so awesome. It is my honor to have you here. Excited to talk about Celebree and your franchise offerings. So where did the educational background and this fondness for kids come from in your life?
You know what? I think that question for me happens over time, Lance. So I grew up in the preschool business. Basically, my parents opened their first school in the mid 80s. So I literally watched it in my backyard. And when I say my backyard, our backyard was 5 acres. So I don't want you to think that it was a little fenced in picket yard that my parents had a preschool in. But my parents built a preschool on their property on this 5 acre parcel. And my mom literally would, walk across the parking lot to work every morning. And my brother and I would watch this. This is for me, it was the early 90s. And the only time that my brother and I were allowed to go over to my parents' preschool was to clean it. Other than that, we were not able to go over there during working hours because, back then, early education and back there it was called childcare. Back then, it was really not a place for men. It was really known as a ladies' business and a ladies' industry. So watched it all my life, watched my mom run her school. And then in 1994, at the age of 26 years old, I said, Mom, I think I want to open my own preschool. So I always say that I was the first franchisee, but I really wasn't. But I say that because I was mentored and guided if I was a franchise partner by my parents. They taught me how to find the right location, how to hire, and really how to operate a very successful preschool.
I love that. So tell everybody what Celebree is. Some people might not know.
Yeah, so Celebree School is a high quality preschool. We take care of children 6 weeks old through 12 years old. So we have infant toddler programs, preschool programs, and then before and after school programs for children 5 years through 12 years. And basically in the preschool business, Lance, we're helping these children through our curriculum meet these developmental milestones in order for them to successfully enter into kindergarten.
I love that. So when your mother initially started this years back, what was her vision compared to yours? You modeled the system like a franchise, obviously in the family business. What has changed today? I mean, obviously technology has changed.
Yeah. Well, back to my mom. That's such an interesting story because, when I first started, my mom was my mentor. My dad was my mentor. And our first school that we opened, as I mentioned, in 1994 was wildly successful. 1996, we opened our second school. And I really thought this was going to be a family business. My mom and I were going to, conquer the world together in the preschool industry. And it didn't work out that way. My mom had her way of doing things and I had my way of doing things. So after the second school, we parted ways in business. And over the next 24 years, I was able to open 26 locations here in Maryland and Delaware and became and still are the largest preschool providers in our state.
Love it. So where did the idea to franchise come from?
Okay, so as I mentioned, it is March of 2019. We're the largest preschool provider and after-school provider in the state of Maryland, and built this amazing executive team around the 26 corporate locations we had mastered or developed. I shouldn't say mastered because we're always looking for ways to improve our process procedures, but we have this amazing executive team in place that are running these 26 schools. We have all the process procedures in place. And March of 2019, I'm bored. It's like I'm bored. I don't know what to do with myself because I built this team that are really running the day-to-day operations of
Yes.
Celebree. So I said, what do I want to do over the next 5 or 10 years? I could continue to open corporate locations, wake up at the age of 60, open 3 or 4 corporate locations per year, and say that was boring.
Yeah.
So we decided that we were going to franchise, and we started. And I'll tell you, Lance, it's everything I ever dreamt up and more.
That's amazing. And that's obviously how it's supposed to be. A lot of people forget about the collaboration piece of franchising. You're not just teaching people a system, but the collaboration. I always tell people that the filet of fish and the Big Mac were essentially invented by franchisees and given to corporate
Exactly.
to do the R&D. So
Exactly.
tell us about that sort of shift. And by the way, before you answer that, I was so impressed knowing you had 26 corporate stores, because a lot of
Yes.
franchise models, not that there's anything wrong with that, are modeled after one successful location, kind of like
Yeah.
Five Guys Burgers. You open a
Yeah.
successful location or two,
Yeah.
create the model and go. But it's always impressive to me when there's a lot of corporate locations slash territories, because it shows, number one, you know how to do it. And
100%.
and it's pretty easy to figure out that when somebody gets in the process with you, that you know how to do it and they feel that confidence. So yeah, tell me more. I love this.
Lance, you're spot on. It has been a game changer for us because if you're thinking about validate, I mean, if you have one school, there's no validation, right? So when we started franchising, and I say it, bringing on a franchise partners, and I'll really get to that in a minute, but we had already validated. We had already been in business for 26 years. They could come here for Meet the Team Day and see this already built out executive team and resources along with our process and procedures that would be here to support them. Most franchise brands, they build the infrastructure as they become successful and as they add more units.
Yeah.
We already had the team built out. I mean, it was fully built. So I think two things, as you mentioned. First of all, they saw validation already with the 26 corporate locations. They can go and tour and see our corporate locations. They could see this amazing executive team that was in place already to help them and support them, and the process and procedures behind them. So I think it really gave us a huge advantage coming out of the gate with putting this partnership together. And
Yeah.
third and lastly, they could see that we were in the industry that they were looking to get into. Right?
Yes.
They weren't looking to join. They weren't looking to get into the franchise business. They were looking to get into the preschool business.
Yes.
And I still say that today. It's like we don't focus on being franchise. We focus on, and every single day we are in the preschool business. We have 26 corporate locations. We care for over 5,000 children every single day. So our process and procedures are tested every single day. So then we could share improvements with our franchise partners.
I love that. So Richie, how big is a typical school, and what is the typical investment all in, including working capital, marketing, the whole nine
Yeah.
yards?
So our schools range from state to state. We're currently operating in 17 different states. So we've become a national brand pretty quickly here. But the average school footprint is about 10,000 to 12,500 per school. And that'll range from around 160 children to around 220 children in each school. Again, ranging from infants all the way, preschool, and then our before and after school programs.
Got it. And as far as the overall investment, what does that look like?
Overall investment right now is about $2.4 million. The fluctuation there is in tenant allowance monies that we can get from landlords in order to build out. But right now at 2.4, and that would exclude any TI money or tenant improvement money that we would help our franchise partners get for their build out of their school.
Or is this like a McDonald's scenario where some franchise partners are buying the real estate as well?
That's funny you said that. Majority of our 80% of our franchise partners, Lance, are three school multifamily have multi-development deals with us. So, coming out of the gate, they need to reserve their capital in order to get those three schools open. So what we've recently have done is created a private real estate fund here at Celebree, which we call Celebree Property Investments, that will help our franchise partners find the best locations, whether it is for lease or it's for sale.
I love that. And obviously smart move. But
Yes.
normally speaking, is this something that they could get an SBA loan for?
100%. 9 out of 10 of our franchise partners are going through the SBA. I would include also, and the reason why that Celebrate Property Investment is so important is because, not only do we help them secure the best location, but let's say, for example, Lance, you opened your first school and then your second school, and now you have, extra capital to invest. And you're like, man, I wish I would have bought into my first school, my second school. You can invest with us in other schools in this fund. And I've spoken to all our franchise partners, and they were like, Richie, I don't care if it's my school or somebody else's school. I just want to get the benefit of owning real estate.
What a brilliant idea. I love that, because
Yeah.
as anybody knows that when you're part of a franchise system, rising tides raise all ships, and that's what this is all
Absolutely.
about.
And I'm so glad you said that, because what I wanted to mention, when I built this and started franchising, or I actually hate to even say franchising. I always love to say bringing in franchise partners, because I think the language that you use is how you act and behave and treat others. So
Yes.
we are not thus. We are here, and our franchise partners are there. So we never say that. We never say franchisees. We always say franchise partners, and we view them as true partners. We're in business together in every single location, and now we're in business together also in real estate. So when I built this company, the Celebree School Enterprise, which is the entity of the franchising, we had this amazing executive team that I mentioned that was running 26 locations. And then I really started having to bring people on board from the franchise world. And I'll tell you, there's where the rubber met the road, because they were, our corporate team from the preschool, the 26 corporate location, they did things the way I love to do things, right? It was, we're in this together. We've always treated our corporate directors as if they were partners. They were fully invested and understood, and were given visibility into their profit and loss statements. And I wanted to treat our franchise partners the exact same way. And I got a lot of pushback from, our franchise people that were coming over, operate from a distance, I'm like, I didn't get into franchising to act that way. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to give these franchise partners everything I have, everything. Not this, give them some stuff and don't give them this. And, we recommend. No, ain't no recommend. It's here's the way we do things. Ain't no recommend. And I really think our franchise partners, Lance, like, that's what they really wanted.
Yes.
They wanted that honest feedback. Richie, teach us, lead us on what you have accomplished in the last 30 years and give it to us. None of that wishy-washy recommend. Just give it to me.
I love it. And it's like kids growing up. My mom was a school principal in a rough and tumble New York City schools, and my wife was a school principal. And I learned at a young age about consequences, and you have to understand people buy into a system. You have to
Yes.
understand the systems, you have to understand the procedures, and they have
Yes.
to be solid. It can't be, well, you can use the sesame seed bun, but if you have a better idea, use whatever bun you want.
No, no,
No.
no. And I would never do that to them. I
Yeah.
wouldn't do that. Like, again, I tell our franchise partners this. I would rather you hate me for caring too much than hate me for not caring enough.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to give you my team is going to give you every single thing we have. Again, we started 30 years ago. Allison Chomos, our COO, has been here for 24 years.
Yeah.
Lisa Bricker, our chief talent officer, has been here 20 years. This level of expertise in their field is priceless.
Yeah.
And it would be an absolute shame not to give our franchise partners all of that.
Yeah. I
And we
love this.
do.
You know, I want to go back to something you said that I think is critical for those listening. When you hear that a brand has quite a few multi-unit or multi-territory partners, it's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. And,
Yes.
you know, because there's a lot of newer franchise brands out there. You see a lot of people committing to one location or one territory, regardless. And a big sign of success is when people are so excited, they're committed. They're not doing it once, they're doing it again and again and again. So I love that. I love that. So who are you
And
looking for?
that's also, Lance, that's a part of what they want, right? They're after
Yes.
three things. They're as I said, they're looking to make a difference. 80 80% of our franchise partners are trying to escape the corporate world. And we love that because they're used to they're very successful in their executive positions. They're used to running and operating teams. They know how to coach and develop, which is one of our competencies. But what they're looking for and what they're not getting in the corporate world is an opportunity to create wealth for their family, create a legacy, and make an impact in the communities that they live in, not what the corporate executives want them to give back towards.
I love it.
And we check all three of those boxes. And what made me say that is because in the creating the legacy and creating the wealth for their family, it has to be a 3-school multi-development deal.
Yeah. Got it. So who is this individual? You mentioned corporate executives. What do they look like? So all your years doing this, what the top, let's say 3 or 4 franchisees, what are they? Are they couples? Is a guy doing this on his own? Is it a woman doing this on her own? Is it always a family? Describe that a little bit.
Between the husband and the wife, it's probably 50-50. It's whoever it's funny you say that. It's whoever's the most miserable in their current position. That one, but
Let
there's
me
a close
escape first, please.
right. But there's yes, but there's a but so let's play that out because it's so true. It's so funny. I love this, right? So let's say, first of all, both mom and dad are very successful in their current positions. They're running a 15-person team, IT department. They're running a financial division for Deutsche Bank or something like that. So they want to go first. Whoever's the most unhappiest, and probably whoever's the most passionate about early education. And that seriously, that can be mom or dad. I've seen both. It's not always mom that's the most passionate about early education. So they'll go first. Dad'll watch, help support from a distance, but make sure that the income for the family is still strong.
Yeah.
And then once that first location is wildly successful, as we call it, then dad will start making the transition to the second school and then the third school.
And typically talk about training. How does this work? So once you select the right franchisee, couple, individual, whoever, are they working full time on this and hiring a school administrator? And at the same time, talk about the training process and all that.
So what we call everything that we do is broken down, which we call our journeys. So right now you may be in the award journey, right? And the award journey is, let's say, 90 days from the first inquiry. And then we move into, once you become a franchise partner, now we move into the real estate and construction journey. So we're helping you, and we have it all mapped out, and everybody knows their responsibility. It's a weekly call, and did you do this? Their responsibility, our responsibilities, and we move through. It's the only way that you get a successful Celebree School open on time and on budget. So we help them locate the real estate. We have 27 brokers and local brokers in every single market that we're operating in. Then we have primary brokers that 3 primary brokers that have divided the East Coast. And the locals work with the primary brokers, and primary brokers work with our 3 in-house brokers. Then we move into construction. We help you with the bid process. We have our construction vendors that we've already vetted. We have our architects that we've already vetted. And then after construction, then now you're in the operation journey. And the operation journey never ends. There's a first year cadence that we want to focus on. Our company is really broken down in three views in operations: the talent, the brand, and the operations. So in the first quarter of your opening your school, what we really want to focus on, and what your franchise business consultant will be helping you focus on, is enrollment and talent, enrolling children and hiring the best teachers.
Yes.
And then we move into the next competencies. And before you know it, we have a full cycle, 1-year cycle that we've poured into. And then that becomes our what we're always focused on. We're always focused on the talent, the brand, and the operations. And then on the talent side, that's where our philosophy of we grow people big and small come from. And that is why 60% of our new teachers are coming from our competitors, based on we grow people big and small, and that promise.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. And so I guess I just have to ask, what is going on with education in America?
I think I think there's great things, and I think there's some opportunities. I think in the preschool business, I think it's amazing. What we're able to accomplish with these little ones is amazing. And it's funny that the public school system doesn't have the same statistics that we have, right? If your child is in a high quality center-based program, 92% of those children are ready to enter kindergarten. That's amazing. And that's really what we do. We make sure that each child is hitting or just being introduced to these developmental milestones, which says, and every single state is different, that says this is what the child must be introduced to or exposed to in order to enter successfully into kindergarten. So I think in the early education world, it's amazing. Some of our industries, some of our competitors, and there's only probably 7 really major competitors in this space. We're doing a great job. Now, speaking from a father's perspective of having 5 children, my wife and I think what's happening in the elementary and the public school system is a different tune. I think what we're missing there is making learning fun again.
Yeah.
So speaking from a father's perspective, my wife and I have 5 children. I think what's missing in the public school system is making learning fun again. And what I mean by that is, why are we even talking about this topic? And what do we hope to achieve out of this session together? And I think that's really been lost. And I think if you explain to children why we're even talking about this, and why is history even important to me? Why is history important to learn? Why is mathematics? Why is reading? Why is writing? All the basic courses. If you tell the child why we're doing this, I think they're more adapt to find enjoyment and fun in it. I know, I didn't find enjoyment in school.
Yeah.
I didn't become a lifetime learner and really reading at the level that I read today. I probably read, $4 a month, until I really started feeling as if I had the choice to read what I wanted to read on the topics that I wanted to learn about.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. It's think about it. Homework. Does that sound fun? Homework. I know when I get
Yep.
home, my kids get up the same time I do. They leave the house the same time I do. When I get home at 7 o'clock at night, I don't want to work anymore.
Yeah.
And my kids are doing the same thing. They're leaving when I'm leaving. They're going to their after school sporting events. They're getting home sometimes later than me. And then they got to go to their room and do 2 hours worth of more work. It's no wonder they view it like it's torture.
Yeah.
It's not
Absolutely.
fun.
So we're going to make learning fun again for sure. Let's talk about the money. I call it the show me the money segment.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a great brand, something people are going to be passionate about to get into. What does it look like? What kind of money can you make? And for those listening, there is a franchise disclosure document. All franchises have it. And there is an item 19 that shows the fun stuff, the numbers, typically sales. So what are
And
you showing?
remember the old saying, Lance, there's no money in education. That's a lie. There's a lot of money in education, especially if you're any service where you're providing an amazing service to families. Parents will pay you for that. Any business will pay you for that service. So last year, 2024's FDD, we filed the average Celebree school did $1.7 million in revenue and had an EBITDA return of 266,000. So pretty good numbers, especially when you're thinking about being a multi-school franchise partner. Take the 1.7 and the 266 and multiply it.
And typically when you're doing the financing, we talked about the typical startup costs. What does it really work out to? I mean, normally with an SBA loan, you're going to put down 20%. How does that change when you're helping to fund some of this, or it's, explain a little bit about that.
Well, I think you said it. I mean, majority of our franchise partners are going through SBA. I went through SBA with my first 6 schools.
Yeah.
I was the SBA Entrepreneur of the Year for Maryland. So I find it to be a phenomenal source of capital. Right now, we're seeing with our franchise partners, and we help them through this process with a third-party vendor that we have. We're seeing 10% to 15% equity into the schools.
Good.
And then financing the rest.
Good. Yeah, and that's great. I mean, look, if you can get away with based on the numbers that you said, putting in 250,
exactly,
250,000 and running the business, taking a salary, getting the nice profits or reinvesting. As you mentioned earlier, a lot of the people that are jumping into this don't necessarily need the money right away. This is more of a long-term play regardless. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that. And there's a balance between, leaving your current corporate position and then, becoming the owner operator of your own business.
Yeah. Let's talk about marketing. How do you launch a school effectively and communicate to a community that doesn't know you yet?
It comes in 2 phases. Well, actually, 95% of our marketing is done digitally, which probably is no surprise. Our franchise partners are opening their welcome center 5 months in advance of their school opening. And that is to attract and brand and let parents know that the Celebree School is here and what it stands for. The welcome center opens. That's where our franchise partners I call it like the command post. That's where they'll operate from. That's where they'll also execute on the remaining 5% of the marketing plan, which is grassroots marketing. Yeah. So that's where they'll start visiting the elementary schools, going to pediatricians, recs and parks, wherever our young families are gathering. We'll do that through the grassroots marketing. And that's also the command post is where they'll start interviewing, start building their team and their teachers for their school. So it starts five months in advance and just keeps going. The one thing different with Celebree, Lance, is one of the other secret sauces outside of how we teach and give our franchise partners the tools and process to grow people big and small, is that here at Celebree, we have a centralized enrollment center. So all the current 53 schools that are open, every parent's inquiry comes here to the Celebree headquarters, in which we answer that phone properly. We ask all the right questions. We capture the information from the parents to make sure it's gold. It's, our franchise partners say the 7% royalty fee alone is worth just that service.
Yeah.
Just that service.
Yeah. No, that's
and
absolutely.
So, if you called Inquire today, we set that visit up with you with that Celebree school. And then our team here tracks that. And hey, Lance, I saw you toured yesterday. How was your visit? Nobody in our industry does this. It's unheard of. I've toured hundreds, if not thousands, of our competitors. You're lucky if they even ask you what your name is. So how can you help your franchise partners, understand how their marketing spent, the cost of marketing? How can you guide them on conversion if you don't even know who even toured the school?
Yes.
So there's two things we're helping guide our franchise partners on, because we have their numbers every single day, which is how many people visited and how many did you actually convert into an enrollment, and help them identify where the opportunity is. And that's really our franchise business consultant's job.
I love it. We just heard the secret sauce. Richie, you've been amazing. So final thoughts, final tips for those people listening. I mean, how do people know what franchise is right for them? You have all these boring, unsexy, awful sounding businesses that do make money. There's some great franchises out there. And then you have something like this that seems like a no-brainer.
First of all, I would first ask myself, if I was looking into this as a potential franchise partner, I would say first, am I committed to this industry? Right? Do I think that early education is a fad or going to be here for a long time? We all know that answer. Early education is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere ever, I believe. Second, so once you say, yes, this is an industry that I would want to be a part of, I believe in it, I think it's going to be here for a long time, I would then ask myself, is this a brand that I would be proud to be a part of? Would I be proud to say that I own a Celebree school and wear the Celebree logo and say I am a Celebree owner? And then lastly, I would say, after Meet the Team Day, I would ask myself, do I believe this is an executive team and a team that will help me be wildly successful? And I think if you could check all three of those boxes, I think that you should consider moving forward.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, and hope to see you soon.
Lance, thank you, brother.
My pleasure.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.